But the point is, about what I'm making is we got options.
The
Haven't we?
depth is incredible.
It's
isn't it?
options, I mean, last season we were talking about who can play in that position.
Yeah.
Who's got two legs?
Yeah.
Who can play in that? But it's
Yeah.
completely different this year, isn't it? As
In
well?
fact, Blues fans were making jokes last year, going, "Oh, I'm on the way to the stadium. I brought my boots with me," because
Yeah.
we had such a lack of depth. And now look at the squad; it's absolutely incredible.
It is good. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And after a fantastic win against Stockport in midweek, Birmingham City travelled to Barnsley for their next EFL League One fixture. And in this podcast, myself and Matt, as always, are going to preview the game, give our opinions on or some information about Barnsley, what we think that will happen in the game, and also talk about possible team selections. So Matt, we're off to Oakwell on Saturday. Looking forward to it.
I really am. It's not just me and you, though. It's 5,000 Blues fans on the road with us this weekend. So that away end, hopefully, if we get an early goal, that away end just going to be bouncing
I
for
think
the
with
whole
5,000, obviously, I'm pretty confident it'll be bouncing.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be a good game. Barnsley are kind of in bad form, I would say. They're slipping down. They're now into 8th. They've only won one. They've only won one in their last 5. They lost to Wrexham 90+2 on Tuesday evening as well.
Wrexham have a habit of doing that, don't they?
They do. They love a late goal, don't they, Wrexham? That's going to hurt them. They're going to want to bounce back from that. And we're sitting in 3rd. Obviously, we have games in hand over people, but we seem to be now turning that momentum, don't we, again? Because we had a little bit of a blip in form. We had Northampton, Shrewsbury, and a few little odd results there. So we seem to be getting that momentum back, so it should be good. But in the last 18 meetings, Dad, Barnsley have won 6, we've drew 5, and we've won 7. So in recent history, we edge it slightly by 1 victory. So should be a good game. But quick question off the bat, Dad, who's going to win the famous midfield battle?
Yeah, there's been a lot of banter. If you don't know, on social media, but so I think a couple of Barnsley fans on social media have been banding it around that they've got the best midfield in League One. And they're entitled to their opinion, of course they are. But of course, we're going to say it's ours, isn't it? Paik and Awasa, and we got
Mark Leonard.
Mark Leonard on our bench. Mark Leonard's on our bench.
No.
He'd walk into the Barnsley team. He would. He'd walk
into any
championship team, wouldn't he? But he's on our bench. But we will see. I mean, at the end of the day, it's another football match. It's another 90 minutes, and I'm pretty confident that we have got the best midfield. But
well, I'll come to the Barnsley midfield in a minute because against Wrexham they were awful. But we'll come back around to that in a minute. But what are your initial thoughts out of the game, Dad?
Well, a few stats really. Like you said, they're not in great form at the moment. Like you said, in the last 6, they've won 2, drawn 2, lost 2. But in the last 4, they've drawn 2 and lost 2. So they haven't won in the last 4 games. They have slipped down the table slightly. Their home record is not great.
They're way better on the road, aren't they?
They are. They've got the 3rd best away record in the whole of the League One, behind us and Wickham.
Well, thankfully this is Oakwell.
Yeah, and they are 2, 4, 6, 7th worst home record in the division. So the only teams that have got a worse home record than Barnsley are Northampton, Crawley, Blackpool, Cambridge, Shrewsbury, and Burton.
Not a good stat, is it?
So but they'll look. At the end of the day, this is a game that they'll be up for. As always, teams are always up against us, aren't they? So regardless of their form at home, they'll be looking at this and thinking, "Oh yeah, want to win that as well." They scored enough goals. They scored 2, 4. They're the 8th highest scorers in the EFL League One, scoring 26 goals. And they're sort of in mid-table in defence, so they're sort of in the middle of goals conceded. So it's a winnable game. But then you know what? It's an away game, isn't it? And sometimes these types of games are quite unpredictable. But I would say that that we probably will go in there as favourites because of where we are in the league.
You know what, Dad? Barnsley really remind me of Blues last year. And again, Barnsley fans, if you're watching this, please feel free to jump in the section comment. We respect and value everyone's opinions, but Barnsley seem to have good moments in games, but they can't do it for the whole 90 minutes. And do you remember last year, Dad, when we watched Blues, we were like, we had a good 10 minutes here and a good 15 minutes here, but it wasn't for the full 90 minutes. I think Barnsley are struggling to get that consistency over the course of an entire game, and they are crying out for a goal scorer. They're crying out for a number 9. Even the fans will admit that. I think that's their top priority for January, is to get a proper goal scorer in the middle, because
like a lot of teams, to be fair,
because they get into some really good goal scoring opportunities, Barnsley, but they haven't got the quality to put their chances away. Even against Wrexham, they should have scored 1 or 2. I mean, in my opinion, Wrexham were the slightly better team in that game, but it was close, and Barnsley could have scored a few goals, but they just didn't have the quality. And if you listen to their fans on social, Dad, I've got a few things here. They're quite worried about the consistency. It feels a bit disjointed, and they're struggling to find ways to win games. And again, it just screams where we were last season, doesn't it, really? But if you look at the Wrexham game, Dad, I don't know whether you saw that goal from Rathbone. I mean, the midfield were completely asleep. a really quick ball. He carries it forward 15, 20 yards. Absolutely no one around him, world of space. And he fires it with his weaker foot from about 20 yards. I mean, from a Barnsley point of view, a really, really poor goal to concede. And if you give Iwata that space on Saturday, he's going to score because he's renowned for scoring from that space and that distance, isn't he? So something to be aware of. But if I was a Blues fan at Wrexham away with that goal that they conceded, I'd have been absolutely fuming.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, they got Sam Cosgrove, who we know he used to be playing. But the problem is, they took him from us. He didn't score any goals for us. Sam Cosgrove.
Mark Roberts.
Mark Roberts will be there as well. Obviously, he's a threat with his long throw, as we know. But their highest goal scorer this season so far is Adam Phillips, central midfielder with 5. And then they've got another attacking midfield. This is the thing; their 2 top scorers are central midfielders, not strikers.
That's probably where they get their reputation for thinking they've got a really good midfield because they can score goals.
Yeah, I mean Davis Kelly and Gunn is another one with 4. Then they've got Stephen Humphreys, who is a centre forward with 4. Max Walters, centre forward with 3, and then Mark Roberts. He's got 3 as well, but obviously he will be a threat with set pieces, Mark. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. Assists, they've got Luca Connell, 4 assists, defensive midfielder. Corey O'Keefe with 3 assists. Sam Cosgrove with 2 assists. So there is goals in their team.
Yeah.
But if you look at their stats in terms of their fixed, if you look at the league table, they haven't beat anybody above them in the league at all. So they're 8th. So every team 7th and above, from Bolton, Reading, Stockport, Huddersfield Blues, Wrexham and Wycombe. They haven't beaten them. They've lost to Wrexham. They've lost to Huddersfield away. They've drawn at home with Wycombe. So obviously they've drawn at home with Stockport, and they've drawn at home with Reading. So it appears that they're fairly decent at not losing games against the higher teams. So that's something for us to be careful of. Yeah. But their first sort of win is just the team below them, Lincoln. They beat them 2-1 early in the season.
I rate Lincoln
away. And then, or in fact, all of their other wins, apart from Lincoln, are from 15th downwards. So they beat Bristol Rovers, who are 15th. They beat Rotherham 17th. They beat Blackpool 18th. Crawley in 19th, and then the 2 bottom teams, Shrewsbury and Burton. Wow. So their highest win is a team in 9th, which they beat Lincoln. So it's strange, isn't it?
We're almost the complete opposite. We've won all the games of the top 10 pretty much, and we lose or we draw to the teams who we should be beating. It's bizarre, isn't it?
We've won every game, haven't we? Apart from we've had defeats to Charlton and Shrewsbury. I mean, Shrewsbury was that's what I'm saying. You can look at a team like Barnsley and think, they don't seem to be very good at home. But neither was Shrewsbury when we played them.
Or Charlton.
They scored 3 goals against us, Shrewsbury.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm still scratching my head to figure out what went wrong there.
I think the Shrewsbury game, Dad, was people in the wrong positions. We were set up wrong for the Shrewsbury game. I think Chris Davis even acknowledged that in his post.
I think he's addressed that now.
Yeah, exactly.
He's addressed that with when we got obviously 2 clean sheets against Exeter and against Stockport. Stockport was a good win for us at home. If you look at their last few, let me give you a few of their results just to give a flavour of their current form. Like I mentioned, if we go to the last 6 games, so starting the 6th but last game, they beat Shrewsbury 2-0 away. We couldn't do that.
Oh, yeah.
They beat Rotherham 2-0 at home. Then they drew 1-1 away to Cambridge, which would have been disappointing.
That was a big surprise for me, drawing at Cambridge. I thought Barnsley would have been odds on and favourites to win that.
I think them teams down the bottom end of the table are quite dangerous because they fight for everything, don't they, now? Then they lost 1-0 at home to Wigan. Then they drew 2-2 at home to Reading, and then lost that game to Wrexham. So they're not on great form at the moment, and they seem to draw a lot of games. There's a lot of yellow. In my stats, a win is green, a red is a loss, and a yellow is a draw. And there's a lot of yellow on here, particularly at home. So they've only lost twice at home. So they've only won twice.
They've won twice.
So they've won 2, drawn 5, and lost 2 at home.
Yeah.
So stats would tell you that this has the potential to be a draw.
Yeah, maybe,
Has the potential to be a draw. But, I'd hope we can win it. But
as you say, at home, as you say, they've played 9, won 2, drew 5, lost 2. So they've only won 2 at home, but away they've played 8 and won 5. So again, just shows they're somehow better on the road.
The weird thing is, mate, you say they've only won 2 at home, but they've only lost 2 at home. So it's a weird one, isn't it?
It is a weird one. But if you're a home team, Dad, and Barnsley will see themselves as a team who wants to push for the playoffs. If you're only winning 2 out of your 9, you're not going to make the playoffs with that kind of form. Your home form has to be a fortress.
Yeah.
If you're going to make the playoffs, or you're going to make a real push this season, so they need to up those numbers.
They will. I mean, they're only just outside the playoffs. I think that they're a win away from going into the playoffs. So they'll know that. I think for them, they'll be targeting the playoffs. I think they will know that the automatics, unless they have an exceptionally mad run of results, they're not going to be challenging for the automatics, but they will, because they got to the playoffs last season. They finished 6th last year, didn't they? But they have got some strengths. I mean, my research says that they're actually strong, very strong at counter attacks. This doesn't mean necessarily that they have scored goals, but their output is often not converting those. But they're strong at counter attacks. They like attacking set pieces. Now we know that with Mark Roberts.
It's a League One trait, isn't it?
Yeah.
Set pieces are just
and
very
that
strong.
Mark Roberts is going to be a threat because he scored a few goals for us, didn't he? With
big guy.
Corners.
Yeah, he's physical,
and he's got that long throw as well. So that to be weird. They'll definitely be using that against us. I'm sure Chris Davis will be telling our players be wary of that because we've been vulnerable earlier in the season. Wrexham, I'm thinking, and a couple of other games. After that,
we are vulnerable to long balls and and set pieces. I'd say that's our Achilles heel. That is set pieces and anything sort of long, either over the top or over the side. We are vulnerable.
I think a lot of that's down to Mark Roberts. I think he's been a good signing for them so far. And our problem with him he was always injured at us, but he seems to be doing okay there as well. They're quite strong at shooting from direct free kicks, but they've got some weaknesses as well. Defending against attacks down the wings, so we need to try and exploit that. Defending against long shots, protecting the lead, and defending set pieces. So a lot of it's defended.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of that. I'd say, I like I said to you, Matt, before, I'm more comfortable with Birmingham City since Chris Davis changed the shape at the Exeter game.
Yeah.
We was always vulnerable to balls over the top, but Exeter and Stockport have shown us that we can close the door and keep it closed.
Yeah.
Not that we will never be under attack, we will be, but we are less vulnerable to conceding those type of goals now.
Well, they're a much better first half team as well, and they end games slowly. So 32% of all the goals they conceded came in the 80-plus minute range. So again, does that signal a fitness issue or a concentration issue? I mean, look at the Wrexham game, case in point, 90+2.
Yeah.
And their most dangerous part of the game is just before half time. Again, if you look at the percentages, it's like 27%. Their goals scored is between 41 and 51, so either side of half time. So again, are they capitalising on when teams are getting ready for the half time break or just coming out fresh from the second half? Who knows? But we could see a few late goals in this game. As I said, does that point to fitness issues, concentration issues? Who knows? But I just want to jump back into the midfield there because I actually watched the Wrexham game, and I'm sure this was a one-off. This was just one game, but this is just my observations. And from what I saw on social, I know a lot of people agreed. So they had three centre mids. I'm going to reference Adam Phillips. Didn't look like he wanted to be there to me against Wrexham. Energy wasn't there. Very lacklustre. Luke O'Connell, he's their captain. Me personally, he looked awful. He couldn't string two passes together. Again, didn't look bothered. And John Russell, I actually quite like John Russell. I remember him from Huddersfield. Yeah. He's actually a decent player, but again, really lethargic, really lacklustre. And again, when you look at the Wrexham goal that they conceded in 90+2, what was he doing? He was just in no man's land. So again, I'm just making an observation here from the game that I saw. Their midfield is definitely far from perfect, but I'm sure it could have been a one-off game. Who knows? I don't watch Barnsley on a regular basis. But I was really disappointed because I was expecting to see at least a compact midfield against Wrexham. But they were, if you look at the highlights from the Wrexham-Barnsley game, Wrexham were shooting from distance. They had so much space. And they play a 3-5-2, so they pack the midfield. And the amount of space Wrexham were getting into and allowing them to get balls in the box and shoot at distance. Again, pre-warning Barnsley fans, we have got Iowata. We can shoot from distance. If he gets space, he will score this weekend, I have no doubt. So just something to be wary of that I watched from the Wrexham-Barnsley game is they do allow a lot of space in the central part. They do allow shots on goal. If we can capitalise on that, I have no doubt we could score a couple of goals this weekend.
Yeah, I think you raised a point a little bit earlier about their inability to score lots of goals or to convert chances, but they have got rid of a lot of firepower. They sold, last season, Devante Cole was their top scorer with 18 goals. He's gone to West Bromwich Albion. They sold him to West Brom. Or I don't know if he was sold or whether or not his contract came to an end. And also someone who... my research shows that I was really impressed with, who's gone to Bolton, is John McAtee. He came on as a sub against Blues, didn't he? And he looked really, really good. He had 15 goals last season.
That's a lot. That 18 goal and a 15 goal player to replace. That isn't easy, is it?
Yeah, and Herbie Kane as well. He had 10 goals last season for them. He's gone to Huddersfield. Wow. So they've lost a lot of goals, and I think that's starting to show now. Where those type of players could have made a difference for them this season, but clearly they've moved on to other things. That they're not scoring, they're not prolific in goal scoring. Their home record last season season. I always look at last season just to get a general gauge of what they're like over a whole season. Their home record last season was quite inconsistent. They won 9, drawn 7, lost 7. So it's a pretty much almost like an even spread across all of those. Scored 38 goals and 33. And again, last season their away record was better.
Yeah,
they seem to be in a better away team than they are at home team. So
maybe it's a pressure thing. Who knows? But it's hard, isn't it? When because home form's supposed to be like Blues. We're making it a fortress. It's supposed to be where you pick up the majority of your points, your home games.
Yes,
bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that they play predominantly a 3-5-2. They can transition actually, but it is predominantly a 3-5-2.
Oh, the Barnsley fans are fuming with the 3-5-2. They've played it now for pretty much 2 years on the bounce, and they think it's so boring.
That'll revert to us because we are an attacking team. That'll revert to 5-3-2. That will.
It will.
When we're on the attack, it's bound to.
Yeah.
So they've got to.
It could play into our hands though, playing 3 at the back. It could open up some pockets on the wings. It could open up some space for us. Who knows how? Because if it's a 3-5-2 in its natural form and they don't compact back, which they will, we could have loads of space. But we know what's going to happen in the defensive shape. They're just going to bring 6 or 7 players back, aren't they? And again, it's the low block that we have to try and break down.
I think as well, they are the home team. Every team. I listened to this on social media before the Stockport game, and you look at their fans. Their fans are saying, "This is the team we want to beat." This is about Birmingham.
The Barnsley fans.
No, this is the
Stockport.
Sorry. But I know for a fact that every team wants to beat Birmingham City, and this is why we can look at all this form and we can do this analysis, which is fantastic to give us an overview of the team. Yeah. But we've seen it week on week, Matt, that teams have come to us. They've looked a fantastic team, but then they play in future games. They're not a shadow of the team that played against us.
The biggest for me so far this season has been Charlton. They looked really good against us, and every time I've seen them since, they look awful.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I don't know what happened, but you're right. Everyone ups their game against us, don't they? It's just
I think this will happen here, so they'll be well off. I mean, they'll have a big crowd as well because they'll want to come and obviously see the Blues, I suppose. Obviously, see their own team, but they want to come and see us. We've got 5,000 fans there, and they've got a capacity of 23, so it should be a good atmosphere.
Be nice if it's close to a sellout. Be a good atmosphere.
I would hope so. I mean, maybe it will be, but only the Barnsley fans will know that. But I think that fans will follow their team, and of course you follow through thick and thin. But clearly, the more successful you are, the more that you will, want to turn up and watch games. But we're interested to see what the crowd will be. It'll be a good crowd.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Do you want to move on to the Blues team?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it now. We've obviously for the last 2 league games we've had the same starting lineup, and given that the Stockport game by the time we played Barnsley would only been about 4 days previously, I think and hope that he might think about rotating the team a little bit because we've been found out before where we've kept the same team and they've just been looking really leggy.
Yeah, agreed. In fact, Dad, Charlton was off the back of a 3-week fixture. Mansfield was off the back of a 3-week fixture. So that on certain games where we've dropped points, it's when we've had fixture congestion. So I think that's because tired legs. We've looked a bit lethargic. So for me and Chris Davis, we all know this. He's a young manager and he's learning as he goes. With us all, but he needs to now start to rotate the squad.
He does. So what I think we'll do instead of going through position by position, I'll just talk you through the team that have started for the last 2 games. Then we can talk about what the possible changes might be. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
So we've had Allsop at the back. Yeah. We've had Bielek at right back. Mm-hmm. We've had Clara and Ben Davies as our centre halves. And we've had Cochrane on the left. In the middle, we've had Iwata and Paik. Yep. On the right, we've had Keshi Anderson. On the left, we've had Stansfield. Then we've had in the number 10 Williamson, and then Alfie May up front. So that's been the starting lineup for the Exeter game and for the Stockport game. Right. Now we know that Anderson is suspended because he picked up a yellow card, so he can't play in this game. So have you any thoughts?
That's a wounder, that is, because he's been our best player for the last few games, especially the Stockport game, and he does stretches a little bit more, and he does his defensive duties as well, Anderson, really well. So I think we're going to miss Anderson this weekend.
I think this is what I think will happen, and I hope that I'm not a big fan of this. I think what he'll end up doing, he'll shift Williamson back onto the right. Yeah. And then I think he'll either play Dykes or Luke Harris in that number 10.
I think he will play Harris, but he'll play Williamson in the 10 and Harris on the right because he played Harris on the right against Blackpool. And Harris can play on the right. Please, Chris Davis, do not put Williamson on the right. No. As I said that out loud then, I was thinking, no, I'm going to correct myself because I don't want Williamson on the right. He needs to go in the 10 and he needs to find players to go around.
That's a good shout. I prefer that. I don't want Williamson on the right. He's just like we said before. He's a wasted player on the right, isn't he?
Yeah.
The only other change is that depending, because this previous game would have only been 4 days ago, is what maybe the midfield. I'd like to see Mark Leonard maybe get a start.
Who'd you swap out though?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? So my swap would be Paik. I'd keep Iwata in there because nothing wrong with him. I mean, Paik's brilliant. We love him. But I think players need a rest.
He's a bit more physical, Iwata, isn't he?
If players need a rest, he may well. The problem, my worry is it'll start with exactly the same starting lineup again, obviously minus the Anderson thing because he's suspended. But then the players will start to get tired. Yeah. But this is an opportunity to use the squad now, rotate the squad.
Agreed.
And I think the midfield in particular is where we could potentially make changes. We have to make changes on the right anyway. But why not utilise the squad? So I think the team will look very similar to the last previous games with 1 or 2 changes in it.
What about keeping Williamson? Again, by the way, I'm not saying this is my opinion. I'm just airing it out. What about Williamson in the 10, Stansfield on the right, and Yokoyama on the left? Again, it gives us a nippier, faster outlet maybe. I'm just talking it out loud really, but I think in my opinion, if we're going to play hypothetical game, Keshi Anderson's out. My opinion, Stansfield on the left, Williamson in the 10, Luke Harris on the right.
Yeah, that'd be my preferred choice as well. Obviously, we've got Scott Wright when he's back. He would be an automatic choice to go on that right hand side.
I can't wait for him to come back.
I know. A lot of people. I think people have realised the value of him because a lot of people are talking about Scott Wright, and I think it shows you the impression he gives to the Blues fans in the few games that he's made.
And Emil Hansen as well. I know Emil Hansen hasn't been as effective as what he can be. I get that. He can definitely up his game a little bit. But what he does do really well is he hogs the left bile. He hogs it so he stretches teams.
Yeah.
Because he's a natural left winger, he's naturally on that side. He really pulls the team out on the width there. So I think when you've got players who are naturally in that position, it does make a massive difference. I think Scott Wright and Emil Hansen, when they come back, will make differences.
Yeah, I don't think that they'll be I don't know, but from what I'm reading, I think they're doing well enough. But we're in a position with our squad being so strong that we don't need to rush them back anyway, so it's not bad as well. So
I agree. I agree, Dad. By the way, with the midfield, I'd like to see Leonard. If he's not starting, I'd like to see Leonard at least get a decent run in the game just to rest legs then, because we have Exeter midweek the following in the I'm going to say Bristol Street. I know the sponsors changed, and then we have Bristol Rovers on the Saturday.
Call it the EFL Trophy.
EFL Trophy.
Still call that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. So. And then we have Bristol Rovers the following Saturday. And then we have the Christmas period where we just get massive amounts of fixtures. So this is the time now to utilise the squad.
Yeah, I think it is. One final change that is a possibility that I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing Taylor Gardner-Hickman at right back.
Yeah.
And maybe give Bielik a bit of a rest. Because he had a, it was a really quite sort of a physical game, didn't he, in terms of how he played against Stockport. So maybe give him a rest.
And also as well, Bielik is a good right back for physicality and getting stuck in. And he marked Louis Barry completely out of the game. But in my opinion, Taylor Gardner-Hickman's better on the ball, so he's a better passer.
Yeah.
He gets up the pitch a little bit better. So it depends how Chris Davies sees this game playing out, doesn't he? Because if he wants us to be a bit more technical, playing out from the back a bit more, ball at the feet, in my opinion, Taylor Gardner-Hickman is better with the ball at his feet. So I think that's a fair shout. Interesting to see what he does. But if Bielik starts, I love Bielik. I'm happy with that. It's just a different type of right back, isn't it?
Well, Clara, for the last 3 games, has been 1 booking away from suspension. So I think there's a couple more games to go before the amnesty changes. So there's a quite possibility that if he gets a yellow card in future games, we'll see Bielik reverting to centre half, and then we might see Taylor Gardner. Yeah. But the point is, about what I'm making is we've got options.
The depth is incredible.
It's options. I mean, last season we were talking about who can play in that position. Who's got 2 legs? Who can play in that? But it's completely different this year, isn't it?
In fact, Blues fans were making jokes last year, going, "Oh, I'm on the way to the stadium. I brought my boots with me," because we had such a lack of depth. And now look at the squad; it's absolutely incredible.
It is good as well. So do you want to just give me a score prediction before we finish?
Yeah, so I'm going to go Barnsley 1. I think they will score, but I'm going to go Birmingham City 3.
Okay.
I think we're going to score some goals.
I'm going Barnsley 1, Birmingham 2.
Okay.
I'll go 1-2. So it's both of us are hoping and thinking that it'll be a Birmingham City win. But
have you got a strategy of 2-1 every week until it comes in?
I do think that a lot, actually, don't I? Yeah, no, that's actually. But no, I do look at each game.
I think it's a fair prediction because we are vulnerable to conceding the odd goal, but we don't score masses, do we?
Yeah.
So the 2-goal range for Blues is a pretty safe bet, I would say. But I've got a feeling with what I've seen from Barnsley, with the space they create, we're going to get into some really good chances this weekend. I could see us scoring 3. I was edging on the side of 3-0, but I still think there's a niggle for Blues at the back a little bit. So I have given them a goal, but I think a tough slog of a 3-1 win for Blues.
It's good to see having 2 clean sheets in a row in the league, which I think is the first time we've done. We've not actually ever trounced any team so far. Every game's been pretty close. That's why I've gone for 2-1. But it'll be interesting to see. And what do you think, Blues fans? What do you think the score will be, or any comments you've got about what you think about the team selection? Let us know in the comments below. Barnsley fans, we welcome your comments as well. Let us know what you think about your team and what your predictions are. And please, as we just said for the Blues fans, just add a comment below. And if you did like this podcast, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And also, if you like to watch or listen to your podcasts on Spotify, you'll find us on there as well. And you see the handles appearing on the screen for all these right now. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you want notifications, hit the bell notification so that you'll get a notice every time that we post a video. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.